The field of 68 is really high on Kentucky with Otega Owe back in the fold. Rob Doster was going over some of the offseason winners and losers with Goodman on their pod. Shout out to those guys. And I'm going to read you the exact quote from Rob, but safe to say he's fully sipping the Kentucky Kool-Aid right now. Rob said word for word, quote, I honestly think they're in the conversation for the number one preseason team now that Otega Owe is back. You can go watch the full interview of this, the full clip of Rob going into detail about his feelings on Kentucky on the Field of 68 YouTube channel. Go check it out. Should Kentucky be in the conversation for number one team in the country? Yes or no?
How long is the conversation?
You tell me.
Because if we're keeping it short and sweet, I'm just kind of chopping it up with you in passing on my 15-minute lunch break. I'm gonna mention Houston, I'm gonna mention Purdue, and I'm gonna keep it moving. The conversation's over. I'm gonna wish you well and have a nice day. This is not meant to come off as a slight whatsoever because I do know that Kentucky fans can sometimes take things as a slight. I think Kentucky is perfectly placed between like the fifth and the eighth best team in the country. I have like gone back and forth with them. I think the latest time I will still have like fifth best team in the country. I think maybe sixth. I don't think they're in the conversation for the number one team in the country. To be honest with you, I think that conversation is between two teams. It's not a polygamous conversation. It is just Purdue and Houston. Those are the two teams.
So, okay.
But Kentucky is really good. They are really good. So like, I guess I just need more clarity on this because are there 12 teams that are in a conversation for number one? Because I guess you could make that argument. You could make an argument that any team in the top 10 could maybe realistically be number one. So maybe that's the conversation standpoint of it. But to me personally, just Houston and Purdue, and then we can stop the conversation.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this, the way Rob said this, and just the idea in general that Kentucky needs to be in the conversation for number one. I'm gonna try and like summarize all of these as best as I can here. From a starting point, do I think Kentucky should be in the conversation for biggest offseason winners? Yes. Presumably, they may have spent more money than any other program here. It's a great job by Mark Pope fundraising. He went out and basically got more quality transfers than anybody in the sport. They lost so many departing players that they needed an entirely new roster, and they filled it with potential breakout stars, some guys who are already really productive, some vets, some role players. It's a phenomenal roster. He did great. They spent more money than anyone. If you want to say Kentucky should be in the conversation for biggest offseason winner, I agree. Being the number one team in this sport is different. That's a different conversation. And I think the field of 68 guys know that. And I'm a little bit confused by it. And I do, before I like get further into detail on this, in the back of my mind, it's just playing in my mind that like we're catching a lot of flack from Kentucky listeners right now. You know that, right? Like you've seen our comment section. Do you think that you and I have been unfair about Kentucky this offseason?
I personally don't think so, no.
I don't think we've gone anywhere crazy on it. I mean, we are lower on the Aberdeen move than others. We've basically said they missed on their primary targets because their primary targets were Donovan Dent and Lamar Wilkerson and Yaxel Lendeborg early. They pivoted to great players. It's a pivot, and it was a great pivot, and I still think the pivot accumulated into one of the best off seasons in the sport. For what it's worth, just as a data point, like to prove we're not like some Kentucky haters here. Um, we just did a full video on the channel. You can watch it where we went through the consensus top 25, where they aggregated all the top 25 polls. Kentucky slotted in at 10th per CBS and Field of 68, ESPN, all these preseason rankings. And you and I agreed they are more likely to overachieve the spot that the consensus ranks them at. So, like, I genuinely think you and I are higher on Kentucky than what the consensus is right now. Here's the ironic part of this for me, though. The same day that Rob said this, and a clip came out of Rob saying they need to be in the convo for being the number one team in the sport. Do you know where Field of 68 ranked Kentucky? This video is brought to you by NBA2K Lab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well. They're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game. And I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's, that's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's it's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video.
Where?
Seventh. How can you simultaneously say they need to be in the convo for number one, and then an hour later put out your top 25 poll and you have them seventh?
Well,
Like,
but that's what we need, combo clarity. Like, is this the version of me saying that I got 8 teams that are in the running for my number one team?
but like, okay, Field of 68's top 25 has Texas Tech ahead of Kentucky, has Louisville ahead of Kentucky. You know what's not happening right now? They're not clipping themselves saying Texas Tech needs to be in the convo for number one. They would never
Right.
do that. And I'm not trying to imply that they did this for clicks. I have worked at the Field of 68. I know how it works. They're not doing that. But I just think like and look, Rob, I think, can be higher on Kentucky than Jeff or other members of Field of 68 are. That's probably what happened here. Rob probably has Kentucky like top 3 or 4 in the sport,
Mhm.
and others have them lower, and that's how they end up seventh. But I found that like humorous, right? Because I obviously follow Field of 68 and they do a great job on socials. And like back to back, we got hit with, are they the number one team? You've got to take them serious with like they're seventh. Like even the Field of 68 knows they're not in the number one combo. And I'm just confused on it because you can be high on Kentucky, I think, without stretching to say they're as good as Purdue or Houston.
Yeah.
Nobody, including Rob Doster, believes they're as good as Purdue or Houston. So you
Right.
don't have to put them in that combo, I think, right now.
Can I ask you one last thing on this?
Of course.
Has it really felt recently that there's been way more like emphasis on being higher or being number one than you are? Because like I'm trying to go back and think to like my days on Michigan. This is a while ago. Don't say it in the comments if you want. The days where Michigan State was like a top 10 team or something. I just never found myself being like, oh, what the hell? Why aren't we number one if we're number five?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do feel like, I mean, we hear the Purdue side of it a lot in our Discord, and it does feel like they really care about this year.
Yeah, maybe we need, like, I'm not even, because one thing I don't want this podcast to ever be is a podcast that goes at people for caring about something. I think you should, like, that's part of being a fan of the sport, in general, is caring about it. I don't know. It's just like if I'm putting myself, I'm a Kentucky fan. Am I just like had this massive chip on on my shoulder that they don't think we're the number one team in the country? Maybe that's me. Maybe I need to do that to be better in life. But like, I'm the fifth or seventh best team in the country. I'm also like looking at the teams ahead of me. Yes, maybe I think I can beat them on any given day. But also, like, where's a little bit of like, look at what Houston and Purdue have. Like, feel good about beating those teams at the same time. Respect what those teams got.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have no problem with fans caring, right? I think fans should care and be really passionate about this shit. But I guess this would be all I would say. If you really believe that Kentucky belongs in the number one convo, rank them like they do, right? Like if we are going to say that that's what this is, put them top three. Put them right there with Purdue and Houston. Because right now, you said it correctly. Purdue and Houston is the combo. I mean, CBS Sports is the only one of this consensus aggregate top 25 that ranked a team different than Purdue or Houston number one. They have St. John's. So I guess by default, let's say it's Purdue, Houston, St. John's. I think you and I would say maybe UConn's in the mix, maybe Florida's in the mix, but we're not going further than that. And if you are going to go there and say any team outside of those five teams, if you're going to say Louisville or Texas Tech or Kentucky or Duke, who's also outside of the top five, you got to rank them there, right? Like, we can't just be like, you got to put them in the then put them in the convo, is my ask. And I don't think Field of 68 did that. And that's why I was surprised to see it kind of take off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
But so who should be? Let's define this finally to end this. Who should be in the combo for number one?
The University of Houston and the University of Purdue.
And it's a 1v1 debate for however long the combo is.
It's a one-on-one conversation.
If you were going to stretch it beyond that, who would you stretch it to?
Not a big stretcher.
So you wouldn't even stretch it.
He didn't even stretch though.
If I was going to stretch it, I'm adding UConn and Florida, and that's it. And it's four teams.
Just be a little one-on-one conversation, little bachelor style. You earn the one-on-one date.